what about sages and hermits who leave social life and migrate to complete loneliness in the woods, on the hills? How do they live such healthy lives that they last for more than 100 years?
Wherever they can go, it's pure oxygen. And they have mastered the art of breathing, which is so basic to our existence. So this breathing in itself, they affect our body, which controls our mind and our emotions. And once that is controlled, you know how to take care of your body, because then your food, nutrition also becomes very secondary. And if I may add here, there is a thing called sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. We have 60,000 to 70,000 thoughts coming in our mind, and out of which not even 1 to 2% they are productive. Like, you don't require so many thoughts, but they are only making you unproductive, stressful, and overall unhealthy, which is not required at all. This is a study which has been done by all the neurosurgeons worldwide. So how you make yourself optimum? In making yourself optimum, you have to be able in a position where you know how to control your mind, because it's basically your mind which is going to control your body.
Who's the closest person? It's the phone. It's an inanimate object which you look at all the time, and our relationship with that, and it has an impact on you.
So that is cutting you off from all the relationships.
That is social isolation also.
Welcome, friends, to the latest episode of Vision and Voices. This is one on health and society. And our very special guests in the studio today are Misha Dange and Dr. Ejaz Ilmi. Misha is a social entrepreneur, startup mentor, trustee of Heal Foundation, a foundation which has done extensive work in rural and urban areas. She's also a passionate champion of women's causes. Having won numerous accolades, she has been recognized for transforming particularly young lives. Backed by an engineering and an MBA degree, along with over 2 decades of corporate experience, she is deeply committed to building a more aware, empowered, and inclusive society. Dr. Ejaz, on the other side, in his basic avatar, is an experienced primary care physician and preventive health specialist with over 3 decades of clinical practice in community medicine, metabolic diseases, obesity management, and lifestyle-based interventions. He's an active speaker at national health fora and contributor to school-based wellness initiatives. He also currently heads the Preventive Wellness and Metabolic Diseases Department at Pacific One Health Hospital. So, viewers, in contextualizing health and society, it might augur well to begin with Hans' quote. Keeping your body healthy is an expression of gratitude to the whole cosmos, the trees, the clouds, and practically everything. Also society, therefore. When man lived close to nature, as in pastoral and agrarian times, health was probably not such a big issue. Not so much because medical sciences had not evolved, but possibly because he slowly, over centuries, distanced himself from nature. Gradually, health became a matter of concern, and the world of disease also amplified subsequently, as did notions of formulated cure and medicine. Today, the subject of health is so pervasive that it touches upon every conceivable aspect of life and social existence. Therefore, the importance and perhaps pertinence of discussing the reciprocity and correspondence between health and society. The relationship between health and society is inseparable, of course, you might agree. A vibrant society requires attention to holistic well-being of individuals. Fostering a healthy society requires collective action and a commitment to creating environments where all can thrive physically, mentally, and socially. So typically, WHO has defined health as a state of, Dr. Saab, as
Absence of disease.
complete state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely that of the absence of disease and infirmity. Health and society share a deeply interconnected relationship where health is both a product of societal conditions and and a primary driver of society's success itself. This brings us to the concept of social determinants of health, the conditions in which people live and work, and the impact of health on social outcomes such as economic growth and social cohesion. So, as Raf Nadar said, there's no better policy in a society than pursuing health and safety of its people. I think you might agree with me there.
Absolutely.
Misha, let me begin by asking you what you might consider as social determinants of health, of how society impacts individual health issues.
Thank you, Javed, for inviting me to your forum. And here we are all there today to discuss something very important, which is core to our existence, and that is health and different factors which affect our health, whether it's social, it can be environmental, and which you rightly said, basically the definition of health is mainly not the absence of illness. It's also your well-being in perspective to your mental and emotional peace, in perspective to your social well-being. But the most critical aspects are the emotional and the mental health. And this is something which is really regulated by your social determinants. We know Maslow's order of hierarchy. It's like as long as you are comfortable, your basic needs, which are your primary, your security and social needs, if they are being taken care of, then you are at peace, right? Then you can think of other things achieving and the higher needs. Our society, in fact, in India, I feel that we are actually a lazy society, because if we are comparing ourselves to Nordics and other countries, Mediterranean or Europe, which can be the benchmark for good healthcare, our eating habits are not healthy. We eat double and we work out very less. I mean, we should be doubling our steps and we should be eating the half. As a society and as a social network, we don't give that much of importance to the activities which we are doing. Even in the parties and everything, people are more focused on what you are going to eat, what you are going to drink, and smoking. So this is not a social taboo. So these things, they matter a lot. And somewhere I think it's, majority of the female population is the determinant of the unit, which is the family. And if they are not aware how to take care of their family, whether it's the nutrition, whether it's the activities, what is going to happen, in the family. So females should come forward, they should be more aware. And earlier I was thinking that it's the financial freedom for women which actually gives them a lot of leeway, and this is so important. But now I stand corrected. I think it's the healthcare, their awareness, and they should be more coming forward, and they should be devoting more time towards their own healthcare. They should be going for their regular checkups, or they should be doing things which are very critical to their well-being, their family well-being, which says a lot. And lastly is the environment in which we are growing, in which we are living, which is so important, because if we see nowadays, especially in our country and coming back to our city, if you don't get the clean air, you don't get the clean water, there are no proper sanitation, no good waste disposal activities, so it affects your living condition. So this is the basic thing which should have access, and if we don't have, then we should strive something where we know how to improve on our health conditions. So, which I'll come to it later, that how do we do it, but these are the, I think, majorly the factors which we should be careful about.
So there was something there which amounted to the fact that society is very important for health.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Because
No, but then I have a little contention there. You know, I've heard about one is, doctor, this comes to you also later.
Right.
One is that people who live in a very Spartan and humble life, full of vigor, and they live very long. And the other point here is that what about sages and hermits who leave social life and migrate to complete loneliness in the woods, on the hills? How do they live such healthy lives that they last for more than 100 years?
yes, so if you actually see mortality wise or longevity wise, our index is much better. What it used to be 50-60 years back, it was almost 50, and now our average age index is 70-75, which is still lesser than comparison to worldwide, but still better. But the point is, as man has progressed, as we have created so much of distractions, more we have gone away from our roots. So our roots are something which is like very pure. I mean, if we are talking about sages, hermits, first of all, those times everything was so pure. If you are talking about 5 elements, clean air, pure water, wherever they can go, it's pure oxygen. And they have mastered the art of breathing, which is so basic to our existence. So this breathing in itself, they affect our body, which controls our mind and our emotions. And once that is controlled, you know how to take care of your body, because then your food, nutrition also becomes very secondary. And if I may add here, there is a thing called sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. So when you go deep, like nowadays we all talk about
Psychosomasis.
In a way, yes, because this is all controlling about your mind.
Very well.
In fact, majority of the diseases, 90% or more than 90%, they are all psychosomatic, right? So if you control your mind, which is through your breath, and mind means also your emotions, then you bring that parasympathetic nervous system in activation, which control your cortisols, which are the major you would be knowing, doctor, which are the major trigger points for the stress. And stress induces all your major cardiac markers or your diabetes, sugar levels, whatever you say. So these are the products and the manifestation. So once you know how to control these activities, everything is in your hand. So you are not dependent whether you're alone or whether you don't have that sort of social bondages, or there are not enough people to take care, because you in yourself is a complete unit. But then it requires time to master that art. That's what I believe.
I'm going to start calling you Dr. Misha.
No, of course not. I still lack that degree, but yeah, this is more my passion.
If Dr. Ejaz will permit me to.
Absolutely.
So, Dr. Ejaz, you have, recently won considerable acclaim in restoring good health to many people. You have, you've done tremendous work. You have become quite a sensation. Surely you would have noticed the impact of health now on society over time. How can health of individuals impact society at large?
Thank you, Javed, for giving us this opportunity to have this wonderful conversation which impacts all of us, because we are all creatures who exist in a society, and we've come to a situation where we are allowing ourselves to be engaged community-wise and society-wise, and also be isolated. So what has really changed in the last 40 years, which impacts the healthcare sector and society, which is classically interlinked? We've got 30,000 new products called ultra-processed foods, which didn't exist 30 years ago. Our grandparents had no idea that something like this existed and classified as something that we eat, then We didn't have mobile phones and screens 30 years ago. So our hands were busy. We could be doing something or the other. Now we're just either scrolling or changing the TV channels. So we've gone far away from the evolutionary way. For years, mankind was supposed to exist. We've lived in an era of starvation, means 100 years ago, getting one meal was also difficult. Now it's a problem of plenty. Malnutrition like kwashiorkor, marasmus, these numbers have gone down drastically, but we've become the diabetes capital of the world. And that is 50% of the people are underdiagnosed or undiagnosed. You can imagine, like in our clinics, it's very clear. For me, everybody above the age of 25, 30, I will like to see his insulin levels and blood sugar levels, because I believe that you are pre-diabetic unless proven otherwise. So that's the level of underdiagnosis, and that starts the cascade of process which impacts your oxygen delivery, because the sugar gets attached to your hemoglobin. Then downstream, that leads to inflammation, insulin resistance. So we are in a plethora of vicious cycles which are all interlinked. This is what is called network. Doctors, you go to a specialist, there'll be an ENT, there'll be a surgeon, orthopedic surgeon, an eye specialist, a hepatologist, a urologist. But I believe that the network that connects all of us is the brain, nervous system. We have nerves everywhere, the blood vasculature, which provides, we got 1 lakh kilometers of blood vessels, which has to provide nutrients, oxygen, substrates to all our 50 trillion cells. So the network, when this gets disturbed, that is the most important things. The genetic factors, which are about 25, 30%. Nobody talks about these things. We are busy suppressing symptoms and not looking at what is happening inside a person. We don't have that mechanism, so which is why there's a thing called metabolic nutrition reset. Without attempting that, without fixing your parameters, your biomarkers, which you can see very, very well. We also have the trifecta of nutritional deficiencies. The South Asian Indian phenotype is classically, our body shape is such that in the Western world, if a BMI of above 25 is considered to be overweight, and then with Indians, if it's 23.1, if your BMI is more than that, so then that is an issue, because we are shorter in height, we have more visceral fat deposition. So I'm speaking from the Indian context, so you got to look at these parameters in a different way, and you got to think like a detective, work out the jigsaw, do the body metrics, then have a long conversation. Doctors who spend just 5 minutes with the patient, I don't think you're actually doing justice, because you get to learn so much from a patient's history of present illness, past illness, family history, allergies, when the stress came about, especially for women. Unfortunately, nature has dealt it's a travesty, because 80% of autoimmune disorders, which is something rampant everywhere, is affecting women largely. Autoimmune thyroid is a big issue, lupus, early arthritis, all these autoimmune disorders are very, very important. So they're affecting the family unit member who holds us all together, is the mother or the wife or the sister, whichever way you look at it. So nature has, so one has to focus more on these things. You can't correct yourself. Earlier, there was a gym in one colony. Now every lane you have a gym, so people are going to the gym. Okay, but you also, the convenience. We've exported our common sense and imported convenience of the processed food industry. I call it the Swiggy Zomato syndrome. And so we're snacking all the time. There's so much insulin noise. So you can never put your body in a state of clarity, calm, restorative, pragmatic, predictive. Healthcare can never function without correcting yourself. And I believe that is the reason where we are going the American way. America numbers are alarming. More than 90% of them are metabolically dysfunctional in some aspect or the other. In India, we are right there. 40 to 50% of all individuals in our society, overweight, obesity, high insulin levels, pre-diabetes. Youngsters as young as 7 and 10 years old showing signs of pre-diabetes and pre-hypertension. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. I think every number I see, everybody's got a fatty liver. And I'm seeing youngsters at 18, 20, 15 also having the same signs. So we are handicapped.
Kids.
Yeah, with school kids. We do school wellness also. So we're noticing these numbers, and it's a cause for alarm. There's a clarion call that AIMS has given, and I think the doctors, the communities, individuals, parents have to understand that we can't let our next generation, Gen Z, suffer this fate, because they're going to be handicapped. There'll be far more longer disease spans than a healthier health span that everybody needs. We are far more lucky because probably we didn't have those new products that I'm talking about, and we didn't spend so much time screening and scrolling. Right now, if you can just have 1 or 2 real meals cooked at home with friends and family, without binging, without scrolling, without arguing with each other, we're doing ourselves a big favor, and that is where we need to get back to.
Dr. Ejaz, somewhere in the midst of your intervention, I sensed something called myopic diagnostics arising by and large from super specialization of medicine. Now, is it true that if you were to go to a specialist and then to a super specialist, you would enter in a very micro-fine manner into an area which may be correct, which may be per se correct, but then diagnostics should actually be a little more broad scape to cover the larger canvas of the human system, and then come to certain conclusions. And perhaps this is where functional medicine plays a very important role, and this is why perhaps you are rocking right now.
Well, I wouldn't call it rocking, but I've just understood. I mean, I think what medical school didn't teach us, we didn't understand the importance of what a nutrient-dense food is all about. We didn't understand what depletion of micronutrients is all about. It was just a number. Now with the numbers, the reference ranges, you got to look at it very, very carefully. They give you enough indication of what is happening to you. It all adds up that you're getting early stage, either your optimum or your early stage of metabolic dysfunction is happening. These markers can be picked up, because don't forget, if you're overweight, it's a classical marker that metabolic dysfunctioning is happening. If your blood pressure is going high, if you see your uric acid levels going high, if you see your liver enzymes going high, if you see insulin levels going high, blood sugar, fasting going high, you are there already in early stages. And all this is reversible, stallable. That's the whole idea. You're talking about super specialists. We need to go to them. That's called tertiary care. But before that is preventive, primary.
I think that's
secondary.
the most important. Being preventive about the medicines.
Preventive healthcare, yes, of course.
In the age of
Because
AI,
everything comes later.
In the age of AI, precision of specialities, it's a powerful tool. But you got to understand that preventive is priceless.
Right.
But that can add years to your life. Quality of life is dependent also on your being in a healthier span, especially in your later years. You don't have to worry about being in and out of the hospitals all the time. It impacts economics, your personal economics, your house economics. Plus, it puts a strain on the public health expenditure. Non-communicable diseases, it's become so rampant. Everybody has one.
We'll come to that later.
Yeah.
Now, there is a kind of a preliminary concept to what you're saying.
Right.
Like John Green said, that disease only treats humans equally when social orders treat humans equally. Now, I'm coming to something called the health gradient and all of that. So then there are social challenges and health inequity, right? So social structures can, there are two concepts here. One is social structures can also create health inequities, unfair and avoidable differences in health status. So the health gradient says that people with lower standing systematically experience worse health, and as you go up the economic ladder, you keep better health. And the other is the economic burden, which is a more macro thing, which is like lifestyle related non-communicable diseases, NCDs like diabetes and health diseases, heart diseases, place an enormous financial strain on both individuals and national economies through lost productivity and much higher healthcare costs. So what are your comments, Dr. Ejaz and Misha, both of you? Would you like to sort of comment on this?
Well, I think let Misha speak about this first.
Misha, so let's begin with you on health gradient.
Being an MBA and worked towards restoring
inequities, and these
economics.
inequities are not only economic inequities, they can also be gender inequities and all of that.
Yeah, first of all, if we are talking about healthcare infrastructure, uh, the most, especially related to our country, the most conspicuous inequity, what I see, is your rural and urban inequity. Because when you are talking about healthcare, which includes we are talking about either demographic, we are talking about socio-economic, we are talking about environmental, in any aspect if you talk about, there is this gaping gap which we see, that to the extent that if I'm talking about some fact, that if we are talking about, we don't have like for one person we have got one doctor is for 1500 people. So this is the access to the present medical facility. If I'm talking about some remote areas, because we are doing a lot of work in hills in the rural India, there is no primary health care for miles. People over there, they don't know what exactly is the basic healthcare, forget about the nutrition. They only go to the hospitals or to the cities when they are stuck with some serious diseases, or sometimes to the point of no return. So when we are talking about such a difference in rural and urban life, where if I say that majority of the, more than 50% in the rural, they don't have even basic healthcare insurance, they don't have access to even primary healthcare center, they don't have doctors, there is no awareness because education level is anyways very low. So for them, which is majority, mind you, that is 70% of the people, they are living there. And when we are comparing them with city life, the urbanization, where we have access, we are always talking about how to improve, and there are plethora of things which is going to be there for improving on your health or on your existing lifestyle. So, when we are talking, it's like something 10% versus 90%. So, as a policymaker, or for the governance, or for the NGOs or people at large, you have to think about a lot, how can we improve the conditions, basic sanitation conditions of giving the healthcare facilities. I'm sure this government is doing a lot, whether it's in giving the universal Ayushman Bharat, covering them more and more under some insurance schemes, and giving more access. You have these Asha, Anganwadi workers which go there and give them that sort of awareness. So if that is not there, then that divide is so glaring that that real effect is not going to come. And the second inequity, obviously the gender one, where I have told you that female somehow generations, they have always treated themselves to be second in command when it comes to be taking care of their health. They think it's a luxury if they become first. It's something like, if it's my life, its family is important, your job is important, but your health is the most important thing. Somehow that concept is still not so comfortable to them, which has to be instilled, that okay, family can wait, their kids can wait, career can wait, but first it's your health which you have to give utmost importance to. So these two inequities, and later on, of course,
In Hindustani, jaan hai,
jahan hai, bilkul
jahan
sahi
hai.
baat hai.
So jaan means health in this context. So if you've got health, you've got the whole world. Yes.
Well, I'll just tell you from my experience that some of my friends and people who come to the clinic, to the hospital, Pacific One Health as it should be, as the motto, health as it should be. The paradox is the cultural paradox that the more wealthy or well-off you are, you're going to have more disease. That is also glaring, and the people who are not, because we have more access. We have access to food all the time. We don't understand. We've forgotten the Indian cultural ethos. In particular, we've forgotten that there has to be a semblance between the mind, body, and soul. We had fasting. We had seasonal vegetables. We were told that we have to walk. We were told how to play in the evening. We've lost a lot of things to modernity, and we are paying the price. And unfortunately, this is impacting the rural areas also now. And there's so much pressure. In the urban areas, there's so much pressure on young children in school to perform. And parents also, they need to be, that's why we're working on school wellness, ideas to inform, educate, make people aware of what is the right way of reimagining your relationship in this present day context with food, which has changed dramatically.
I think first it has to come to parents, then only it
Yeah,
can go ahead to the
so
kids.
we'll reach the kids for the parameters, but the whole
Absolutely.
idea is to give newsletters and videos to the parents that this is what needs to be done, and the body metrics of children are very easy to measure. That way it's so simple. All you need is a inch tape that tailors use, or a piece of string. Your height, if your height is say 5 feet 6 inches, that is 66 inches, and then you measure your mid waist between your hip and your navel, just 2 inches below your navel. You measure that, especially in the South Asian concept, in the Indian context. If it's more than, it should be half. Your mid waist circumference should be half of your height. If it's more 1 or 2 inches more than that, then you are accumulating a thing called central adiposity, which is visceral fat, and which is the bad fat that is going to start your cascade of diseases down the line. So it's with just one tape you can measure people's mid-waist circumference and get a general idea and ask them to then do a screening. Their numbers will start showing up. So it's not difficult. I mean, it's something that can be done across. We have to put simple solutions before we get down to screening. Screening is very important. Now, when you do screening for children, you're surprised. Our generation has enjoyed so much more better stuffs in terms of food, nutrient-dense food, compared to the new generation. That's why I call it the Swiggy, Zomato, or Zepto, Blinkit syndrome.
Online food, it's online demand.
If the food is available in 10-15 minutes, you can imagine the quality of the food. You can imagine the quality. Why I talk about these things, in bold letters I write, no seed oils. The entire industrial seed oil production, I'm glad the Prime Minister spoke about reducing seed oil consumption by all society, is because they play havoc with your chronic inflammation. That is also a beginning of disease. The new word is inflammaging. Inflammation leads to rapid aging. So we have to be mindful of these things, work on these parameters, get yourself evaluated, because it's ultimately going to impact the society at large. And disease today has become a social disease. If the husband and the wife eat the same food and children eat the same food, and you see the blood reports, there'll be similar metabolic markers suggestive of the kind of food they're eating. So when one person comes to you, and then I do a metabolic reset besides with medication, and I tell them that please educate your spouse, your in-laws, and your children that this is what you have, these are the changes suggested, because medicines will not work beyond a certain level unless you fix the terrain inside. You allow the body's inherent capacity to heal, but it's called the milieu interior. The milieu interior is the internal homeostasis of being nutrients dense, no deficiencies of iron, which is very common anemia, vitamin D is 70%, vitamin B12 absorption, all these things, and plus genetic factors, these are playing havoc. So it is possible, tolerable, fixable, and now people are getting into remission from one of the most important things called diabetes. I mean, as some patients come after 3-4 months and they say, my sugar levels are perfect now. And they've been on medication for 10-20 years, but nothing helped them. But because they were made aware of a thing called metabolic profile.
I have also a point to make to Dr. Ajaz, what he's saying about, the food is being...
Please go ahead.
Yeah, it's all processed. But, if we compare our times, our generation, boomers to this Gen Z, so the type of food, the quality of food what we are getting now, there is a hell lot of difference. It's, of course, it's processed. Even if we go, it's modified. Generally, like you have all these gluten allergies and things, these are all modified crops to which people are suddenly taking allergies. And secondly, even if you have access your vegetables, fruits, your pesticide, insecticide, pesticide all over. You don't know whether it's even your eggs, chicken, it's hormone injected. Your milk is not so pure because you are not very sure, So the sources are not so genuine. The products, you are not so very confident. Seeds are all modified. So much of pollution in the air. So the entire mix of the things is such that in today's scenario, you have to be very, very aware of your lifestyle, of things, what you choose, what you eat, and how you conduct yourself. I mean, your routine, what time you eat, and whether you are doing some meditation, walk, So it's the combination of these things which actually determine your health. So I know it's not so easy, but then you have to work constantly towards it.
Yes, of course. So very interesting, Dr. Ejaz, your concept of inflammaging, aging more, acceleration of aging through
because of chronic inflammation,
through avoidable inflammation in the
Yes,
body.
absolutely.
Very interesting concept. And of course, your family pathology concept is also very interesting, that the same thing afflicts everybody in the family. Now, having said that, recently I read an essay by Julian Saad and James Prochaska on philosophy of health. They have enumerated a few principles, two of which I want to reproduce here. Principle one is that health is a state of maintainable ease of functioning of the body, and a disease is a state of prolonged dysfunction that prevents that ease. Principle 2 is health emerges from maintainable ease of functioning at multiple levels. So, maintainable ease of functioning in the general population can be observed at the cellular level, the tiniest level, the self, and society all simultaneously. So, Dr. Ejaz, what do you have to say about this? And Misha, you too.
Well, let me take this first. What I would like to tell you is that 80% of disease is cellular, subcellular. So there are 8 parameters that you need to work on and you've got to follow. First is glycation, which is increased sugar levels. The second is inflammation. The third is a genetic marker which 50% of population has. It's called the methylation defect based on methionine and homocysteine conundrum. Then there's insulin resistance. Then there's mitochondrial dysfunction, because that's the energy house. If you can't produce enough energy, mitochondria is disabled. You can't function. You get up, not wanting to get out of bed in the mornings and not having clarity in the morning. Then there's, along with that, there are other parameters that your blood lining, endothelial dysfunction. So all this combination, this can be seen through your blood biomarkers to give you a signal. Disease comes much later. Your biomarkers start changing earlier. It's just a conversation with the patient that teaches you so much. I can't get up in the morning. What do? I have no energy. I have brain fog. I'm not able to comprehend. I have loss of executive function. I don't feel like working. I feel like quitting my job. Absenteeism is working. Look at the IT industry. People are on their desk for 8 hours. They don't, and when they eat, they're all on the phone, they're scrolling, so unless there's mindful eating, how do you do all these things to get to that state of the gentleman that you quoted? They talked about ease of health parameters and absence of disease, and along with that is the stressful lifestyle, which Misha will talk about. So we are actually in a conundrum. We are in a vortex, but how do we extricate ourselves out from this inflammaging, anti-longevity, pro-disease scenario that we are all getting engulfed in? There's forever chemicals in agriculture. What do you do about that? What do you do about the environment toxins? We live in NCR, we see what is happening. Okay, what do you have control over? The only thing you have control over is what you put in your mouth, is the only thing that you actually have. You can't control the environment. You can't control the pollution besides putting air purifiers in your home. What do? What can you do is to be practiced, and that is only having real food, nutrient-dense food, understanding the concept what food is all about is the only thing that you can actually do. And then screening and probably seeing a doctor who can gives you time, addresses issues, sees you, hears you, answers the questions rather than giving you a short shrift in 5 minutes time and prescribing a few medicines. That won't do the job.
Totally appreciable. Totally appreciable.
Which you rightly said, that our society is as healthy as its individuals, and our body is as healthy as our cells, because they are the
Good.
smallest
Yes,
units, right?
Yes, that makes sense.
So we can go further in subatomic level, which we realize it's only energy. That's another part. But basically, smallest unit of our body is cell. And when it comes to another thing is tissues, organs, how they form it. But anything which governs us is the energy, is chi, which is, we call it pranic body also. Actually, I'm into a lot in all these alternative healing therapies besides, because
Oh,
medical is one option,
Okay.
and preventive medicine is another big option. But before that, how do you take good care of yourself? There are healing practices which are all age old, coming from our Vedas and Ayush.
Wisdom of the sages.
Yeah, wisdom of the sages, which is there in yoga, mindful eating, how you are conducting your life, your exercises. So this is a combination, as I said earlier. But coming back, where you are talking about the smallest units, how it's affecting the entire body. So somehow we have to find the balance, and balance is very important about everything. The balance about our schedule, the activity with body, mind and soul. Soul can be something which is very, very personal. I mean, it's your own energies. So you have to see that what exactly is going to give you maximum productivity, right? Whether if you are having a sedentary lifestyle, so you have to have that sort of food which is light, and you have to be more active. If you are already active, then you need to be having more protein rich food, right? So similarly, we should also be doing those sort of activities which are also environment friendly, because when we are talking about balance between our body and the society, it is also related to the environment. There has to be also a balance of individuals and related to the planet, because right now whatever is happening, whether we are talking about global warming and extreme weathers, it's all related to this, our reaction to the environment. So we have to be mindful about that also.
Absolutely.
So it's a total integration.
Yes. It's a holistic thing.
Yeah, absolutely. We have to have a holistic approach.
I though had some, I needed to ask you a few things very specifically. I think both of you, between the two of you, have already answered a lot of my questions that were coming up. So let me see now. This is the good thing about having very cerebral people discussing things, that they have so much to say and so much to contribute. Misha, you, though I did want to ask you, there's something called the societal impact on health, but I think it's already come from both of you, the impact of modern society on health. When we are talking about sedentary lifestyles and dietary licentiousness and all of that. So anything else you have in that regard, or we
Yeah,
pretty
I'd
much?
just like to add to this interesting piece which impacts all of us, is that you talked about modernity. Now, what have we done? We have gadgets for everything. Our use of plastics has gone up. The microplastics are being found in our plaques. It's entering our body and disrupting our systems. The makeup industry uses a lot of parabens, which are endocrine disruptors. Girls are totally unaware of this. And what is happening is the society, there's an event happening, or there's a family wedding happening in the next 3 months' time, and you have a young girl coming to you, influenced by the social influencer Insta reels, that somebody's told her that you can take GLP agonists like semaglutide, Ozempic, Mounjaro for 3 months and lose about 7-8 kgs, and it's become a fad. And you have to be very sensible to explain to them that this is not possible, because you don't qualify for this.
Absolutely. I
You don't
think this is
qualify
a
for
very
this.
valid point,
That
yeah.
misuse now, it's become, generics have become much cheaper. It's much more accessible. So you're getting young people wanting to drop that 5 kgs for the Sangeet function that is going to happen in a destination wedding. These are
very interesting, very
society problems, and doctors, it's imperative on them to tell them the do's and don'ts, because not only do you lose your fat, you lose your muscle and your bone, matrix which is not coming back when your weight climbs back. So the ills, the perils have to be explained. You need to be what you need to do along with to protect your protein, your muscles, and your bone matrix. All this is very important. So we are living in this modern world. Like I told you, it's a vortex. It's a vortex which is designed to make you less functional, increase your disease span, reduce your health span. So how do you protect yourself? That is a decision on a daily basis. If one thing I could change really was I could probably go back out of this modernity in terms of how I look at food, how I address food, how I utilize my time with people, hopefully have a meal together, interact, put my phone away, put the TV off, have a real conversation. These are the real things. If we can do these things, then we are resetting ourselves back evolutionary what we are meant to be. We were not planned to be just having a mobile and remote in our hands. We were not planned for the Swiggy Zomato food that we keep on ordering all the time. We were not planned for excess sugar. Sugar consumption is 6 times what it was 30 years ago. So these are the numbers which are reflecting. And let us, we actually, like the UK is called the fat man of Europe. Most of the European countries, because there's so much mobility, I mean, they have good food, good organic food also, but they also, like look at Netherlands. There are more bicycles out there than human beings. Look, they're cycling the whole day, 2 to 3 hours, going up and down. So they're actually getting mobility, and the muscles are in use. And muscle is the largest organ to store and dispose of glucose. That's why walking after meals, every meal, if you can walk for 10-15 minutes, you stabilize your sugar levels. A lot of commonsensical things are missing as we have given license to modernity to run our lives.
Dr. Ejaz, very briefly, what is the difference between health and wellness?
Well, health is your existing state of where your parameters are and your body metrics are. Wellness is a much larger concept. It's a much larger concept. It is pragmatic, it's preventive, it has proactive. Health, depending on disease, can be reactive, but you have to get into proactive mode, utilize awareness and new models, how to prolong your health span. That determines the wellness quotient of you. And the difference is you have a biological age which you can't change. You're born in a particular year, then that's your biological. Your chronological age is something that you can actually fix. You can be 50 years old and chronologically be 60 years old, or you can be 50 years old and chronologically be 45, 40. So we want to be there. So biologically we have to be lesser than our chronological age is the key to wellness.
Wonderful. That's a brilliant explanation of what wellness means, transmutes into. Now, Dr. Ejaz, if you could change that one social habit overnight, what would it be?
Well, make it into a daily ritual, because we are Indians. We've lived with seasons. We've lived with communities. We've lived with joint families. We've eaten together. We've enjoyed smaller things in life. We've been sent out to play in the evenings. If you can get some of that back and reimagine what food has become, then we are doing this, and it has to be on a daily basis. It should not be a chore that has to be done. Inculcate those things back.
Enjoyably.
And then you are likely to be in a wellness zone rather than an illness zone.
Now, to both of you, starting with you, you know, the one health lesson that India expressly needs to relearn, to you and to you, Misha, comparatively to the rest of the world?
Let Misha go first.
So
India vis-a-vis the world, you know.
I'm just coming there only. I mean, basically taking off where Dr. Ejaz left. You know, it's like living a life full of distraction, and nowadays you have so many gadgets, and then knowing your body, where it's coming from. So typically, on the average, we have 60,000 to 70,000 thoughts coming in our mind, and out of which not even 1 to 2% they are productive. Like, you don't require so many thoughts, but they are only making you unproductive, stressful, and overall unhealthy, which is not required at all. This is a study which has been done by all the neurosurgeons worldwide. So, how you make yourself optimum? In making yourself optimum, you have to be able in a position where you know how to control your mind, because it's basically your mind which is going to control your body. Mind also means emotions, right? There can be different tools, there can be different therapies. You know, there has to be a proper lifestyle, which is so important to us because it's coming in a culture. As we rightly said, it's in Ayurveda or yoga, which is now becoming so popular all over the world. Probably they are doing it more diligently than we Indians, because we take it for granted. This is our heritage, and we know that we have the tendency, we know it all. What are you going to tell us, right? So this is something now we need to inculcate in our practice, in our daily life, starting it, whether it's yoga, what we are eating nutritionally with that wisdom, and conducting a lifestyle. Is really where we know how do you get the maximum optimum productivity out of you. But now you have asked vis-a-vis with word. If we compare, if we benchmark our practices with worldwide, you have this blue continent zone which is supposed to be the most healthy practices, and their lifespan is 10-15 years, even longer than all over the world. So there are some healthy practices which they have. They are more or less focused on protein diet, plant-based diet. They're very regular in doing activities. Not most of them, because we are talking these blue zones, they are more or less, you have it in Italy, Japan, green, all these coastal areas, right, where the average age is around 100 years, right, and they are quite healthy, they are quite active. Average age I'm talking about. I mean, we have 70-75 years in developed countries.
The highest number of centenarians are in the blue zones.
Yeah. So they have certain habits in which they are very socially involved, interconnected with each other. It's not, they are not doing gyms and all that, but they are doing leisure walks, they are doing small activities, so material success, your abundance need not to be directly correlated to your health. It is also a phenomena which comes deep inside you, and you can develop it. So benchmarks can be these things.
Satiety quotient of the soul.
You can say
it's directly linked. Today, your social isolation index will determine how earlier you're going to get diseased. One, we've socially isolated ourselves because our closest friend, family, mentor, guide, spouse, mother, father, whether we have them or not, who is the closest person? It's the phone. It's an inanimate object which you look at all the time, and our relationship with that, and it has an impact on you.
So that is cutting you off from all the relationships.
That is social isolation also. Besides that, anyway, we live in nuclear families. We interact maybe at parties, get-togethers. We socially isolate ourselves, and plus we are adding that another layer of this inanimate object, which is playing havoc with our lives. The screen times is playing havoc. How to reclaim that? You talked about blue zones. There's community-specific activities. They eat moderate amounts. They know exactly how to eat. They do supplementation because a lot of them are plant-based. So they need a bit of vitamin B12, B6 supplementation, and they enjoy a healthier lifestyle. They are less stressful because there's community-centric support. There's community activity. They walk. They enjoy better air. Like the coastal, they have access to fish. Why fish is more important? Because of inflammation. Omega-3s are very important, and all of us, because of this oil food that we have in India, which is high in omega-6, which is pro-inflammation, and fish is
omega-3
is anti-inflammation. So your omega-3 index has to be higher than your omega-6 consumption. These are simple things which they have the advantage of. Unfortunately, chicken, what used to come in 11-12 weeks onto our table, now it comes in 20 days. It used to be 700 grams earlier, 30 years ago. Now with the broiler industry, it's there in 20 days and it's 1200 grams because it's got 3 injections. One is the broad spectrum antibiotics, which can damage your gut microbiome. Second is the growth hormone to make it larger in size, so you end up paying more, and then they inject it with saline. So that's not real food. It's gone away. It was food when it was food. Now it is a process element for maximizing profits. at the cost of your and my health.
Wonderful. I mean, this is really very, very deep and valuable. So, in contemporary times, I would say the various dimensions of health can be listed as physical, mental, social, emotional, spiritual, and perhaps vocational. And Dr. You, in your role, would probably have two very major components. One is your diagnostic, and the other is a therapeutic function of yours. And this is where your training, your in-depth knowledge comes into being. Misha is doing it without being a doctor. She can be very therapeutic to people around her in terms of the kind of knowledge that she has about this and all of that. So, some years ago, I there was a World Health Day competition of, proverbs and, poetry and all of that. There's a little boy called Arav Pratap. I think he was about 7 or 8 years. He wrote a beautiful poem. So, healthy boys and healthy girls make a future full of pearls.
Wow.
If you're healthy, you're wise. Otherwise, you may not rise.
Wow. Lovely.
So simple and so beautiful, and how true for both individuals and the society at large. So, on this note, I would like to bring this podcast to an end.
Thank
Such
you.
a beautiful podcast. Thank you very much, Misha and Ejaz, for this very informative session. And thank you, viewers, for your attention. Many thanks on behalf of Vision and Voices to you, to the viewers. See you soon again.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much.
Thank you, Misha. Thank you, Javed. Thank you so much.
Thank you.